శ్రీవాసరంగ పరకాలమునిత్రయాప్త లక్ష్మాత్మరక్షణ ఇత్యుగాగమాంతం ఆచార్యభక్తి పరిపూతమనర్గశీలం గోపాలదేశికమునం గురుమాశ్రయామః. Remember, wonderful title has been given after enjoying Govinda Anubhavam. We will now enjoy the real Govinda. ஆராத அருளமுதம் பொதிந்த கோயில், அம்புயத்தோன் அயோத்தி மன்னர்க்கு அளித்த கோயில், தோலாத தனிவீரன் தொழுத கோயில், துணையான வீடனர்க்கு துணையாம் கோயில், சேராத பயனெல்லாம் சேர்க்கும் கோயில், செழுமறையின் முதலெழுத்துச் சேர்ந்த கோயில், தீராத வினையனைத்தும் தீர்க்கும் கோயில், திருவரங்கமெனத் திகழும் கோயில்தானே. The most beautiful, most wonderful, the majestic, vast, large, amazing Divya Desam, Srirangam. It has the beautiful, handsome presence of our Lord, Alagiya Manavalan, Lord Sri Ranganathan. He is a very personification of Dayai. And he is Arada Arulamudam, insatiable nectar. The more and more you enjoy, you never ever get satisfied. And he is there in this coil. And Ambuyatton Ayodhi Mannarka Alitta Koil. It was handed over to Ichwaku, Ayodhi Mannan, king of the Ayodhi, king of Ichwaku Kulam, by Chaturmukha Brahma. He handed over this Sri Ranganathan to Ayodhya king. And Tolada Tani Veeran Tolida Koyil. Tolada Tani Veeran, Lord Sri Ramachandra Murthy, who appeared in this Ikshvaku Kulam, he himself worshipped this Perumal. It seems during the night before the Pattabhishekam, when Lord Sri Ramachandra Murthy was performing Tiruvaradhanam to Ranganathan, Sita Pirati was by his side performing the Kainkaryams. And Valmiki mentions the word Visalakshi for Sita in that slokam at that moment, because her eyes, large eyes, beautiful eyes, well laid out eyes, they were even wider. It became wider. It became Vishalam, more wide open, because she was admiring and adoring the enjoyment of Lord Sri Ramachandra Murthy performing Tiruvaradhanam to the another most handsome Lord, Sri Ranganathan. So she was shifting her eyes from one person to the other Lord, from her Lord to Lord Ranganathan, as to find out who is more handsome. And she did not know, she could not find. And that is why her eyes were called Visalakshi. And Tolada Tani Veeran Toluda Koyil, Tunayana Veedanarku Tunayam Koyil. Lord Sri Ramachandra handed over as a gift to Vibhishana. And Lord Ranganatha gave his support to Vibhishana by facing the southern direction in Srirangam. And Serada Payanellam Sherkum Koyil. There is nothing that we cannot get anugraham from Perumal. Nothing. Anything which you desire can be obtained from Perumal with his blessing. Shelumarayin Mudaleluttu Sherந்த Koyil. Pranavakara Vimanam. That beautiful Vimanam that one can visually enjoy. And Tirada Vinayanaitum Tirkon Koyil. It can destroy all kinds of papams. Tiruvarangam Yanattigalum Koyil Dane. That Koyil is nothing but the Divya Desam of Srirangam, which is the topmost among all Divya Desams. There is a school of thought that all Divya Desa Perumal come here every night to pay their obeisance to Lord Sri Ranganathan. He is number one Divya Desam. And the way he comes out, Namperumal comes out, Sarbagati, Gajagati, and Rishabhagati, Simmagati, Hamsagati, Srirangam Nadayalage, Kanchipuram Kudayalagu, Tirunarayanapuram Mudiyalagu, the Kiritam of Tirunarayanapuram, the most beautiful umbrella of Kanchipuram, and the wonderful gate of Ranganathan. So, the Sthalam, the Tirumeni, the Tirtham, everything is great and grand in Srirangam. That is why Sri Vaishnavan, wherever he lives, whichever part of the world he lives, after every Sandhya Vandanam, he says, Deshandra kathoapi dvipandra kadopi va, Srirangapi mukho bhutva pranipatya nasidati. Wherever I live, wherever I reside, towards Srirangam, he pays his obeisance at the end of Sandhya Vandanam. Tiruvaranga Chelvatthirkku endha idayurum varakkoodadu. There should be no hurdle, there should be no interruption for Tiruvaranga Chelvan, for the Kainkaryam being performed in Srirangam. That is why we say, Srimanna Sriranga Sriyam Anubhadrava Anudinam Samvartaya. Srimanna Sriranga Sriyam Anubhadrava Anudinam Samvartaya. Every day we say twice in our Tiruvaradhanam during Sattumurai. And Kaveri Virajaseyam Vaikuntam Rangamandiram Savasudevo Rangeshaha Pratyaksham Paramam Padam Vimanam Pranavakaram Vedashrangam Maha Adbhutam Sriranga Sayi Bhagavan Pranavatra Prakashanaha. These two slokams the parrot was telling, and Emperuman came in the dream of king, and then the Srirangam was unearthed. So all Alvars have sung about this Perumal, except of course Madhurakavi Alvar, who sang on no Divyadesam except for his Acharyan Nammalvar. And even Nammalvar has sung thousands of verses, Tiruvaimazhi. And we know that this Tiruvaimazhi composed for most of the Divyadesams, sitting in Tirukkurugur. But Swami Parasara Bhattar writes that Vantigalum Sholai Madilarangar Van Pugalmel Andra Tamil Maregal Ayiramum Indra Mudaltai Shadagopan Maimbal Valartha Idattai Ramanushan. So Alvar has sung the Mudaltai, the mother who has blessed us with this most beautiful 1,000 verses of Tiruvaimazhi, is only on Sri Ranganathan. That is why Swami Desikan has called himself as Sandamigu Tamil Marayon. He says, Nalayiramum Adiyongal Valvu. It is our life, this Divya Prabandham. And he has sung in one night 1,000 slokas on Lord Ranganatha's Paduka. Our Acharyas, Ramanuja, Desikan, Pillai Logacharya, Nanjiyar, Nampillai, Periyavachan Pillai, Manavala Mamanigal, all of them have immersed themselves in Prabandham and have immersed themselves in the enjoyment of Alagiya Manavalan. And in fact, Sri Shaileda Dayapatram was blessed by Swami Sri Ranganathan on Sri Manavala Mamanigal. There is a tradition of school of thought which mentions this, that it is none other than Sri Ranganatha on our Acharyan Sri Manavala Mamanigal when he completed the Tiruvaimazhi Kalakshepam. So, Poigai Alvar, Pudattalvar, Peyalvar, all Alvars have sung Ondrum Marandariyen Vodanir Vannanai Naan Indru Marappano Ezhaigal Andru Karuvarangathu Utkidandu Kaithozhudhen Kandhen Tiruvaranga Meyan Dishai. Do you think I would forget? I knew this Tiruvaranganathan because of his blessing when I was in the Karu. So, how will I be able to forget Lord Ranganathan? And Manatullan, Venkadathan, Magadalan, Matrum, Ninaipariya, Neel, Arangattu Ullan, Yanai Palarum, Devadi Devan, Yanapaduvan, Mun Varunal, Mavai Pilanda Mahan. So, he is there in this most beautiful Trivarangam, in Trivenkatam, Emperuman, and now he is residing in my heart, he says. So, there Meyyil Valkayai Meyyana Kollumi Vayyam Tannod Kuduvadillaya, Ayane, Arangane, Yandralikindre, Mayal Kondolinden, Yandan Malike. And I would not associate myself with these people who run amok behind this false world, who running behind this false wealth, when there is an immense wealth in Srirangam, and that we need to associate ourselves with. And I'm saying Aranga, the one who is with such a Saulabhyan, Sulaban, is there in Srirangam. And on that Alagiya Manavalan, I have lost myself in, and I am simply in love with Ranganathan. And of course, our Periyazhwar has sung very many pasurams on Ranganathan. He says, Senjol Maraipurulagi Nindra Devargal Nayagane Yamane, Yenchalil Yenudaya Yinamude Yelulagum Mudaya Yenapa, Vanja Urvin Naman Tamargal Valindu Nalindi Yenai Patrumbode, Anjalendri Yenai Kakavendum, Arangataravanai Palliane, Vanja Urvin Naman Tamargal, when the wild, cruel Yamadutas come and catch me, you should come and say, Anjal, do not worry, I am here to take care of you. Arangataravanai Palliyane, Lord Ranganatha, you should come to the rescue at that time when Yamadutas come. Of course, his darling daughter fell in love with Lord Ranganatha. Even though she was there in Srivillibattur, even though she sang on Trivenkatam, even though she sang on Thirumalar Cholai Manalan, on every other Perumal, it seems she chose our Lord Ranganathan because Gediluda Ammanaimir, Yenarangatti Innamudar, Kulalagar, Vayalagar, Kannalagar, Koppulil Yedukamala Puvalagar, Yemmanar, Yenudaya Kalalvalai Tamum, Kalalvalaya Yakinare, because he has separated from me, he has gone away from me, he is not looking at me, because I have gone thinner with languishing in love, languishing with the pangs of separation. Viraha Tapam, I am thinning down, and because of which my bangles just simply fall off. Yennudaya Kalal Valayai Tamam, Kalal Valayai Akinare. And Lord Trivenkatanathan, why did she not choose? Because he is always in debt. He has to pay back for the wedding expenses, keep on paying. So he is counting only his money. Thirumalar Cholai, he never bothered to consider Andal's request. Oppiliyappan, he takes food without salt. Andal did not want a tasteless food. Trinirmalai Emperuman, he always supports only the people who elope, the love couple. And so Andal is from a Vaidika family. She does not want that particular non-Vedic weddings. Parthasarathi, she does not want, because she says my father would not yield. He doesn't like the Mappillai with the moustache because he is a Parama Vaidika. And of course Kanchipuram Varadarajan, when you go near him, there will be Agni, because he came out of the Agni. It is so hot. How could I go near him? Badrikashrama Perumal, Muktinath Perumal, all these Perumals are 6 months winter. I cannot stand that cold. And for every Divya Desam, she is having reasons and excuse to reject. She has taken, because our Perumal, Lord Ranganathan, you look at him, you cannot take your eyes off his kiritam, of his lovely darting, well laid out, Kariyavagi Pudai Parand, Milirndi Shevariyodiya Ninda, and the Periyavaya Kangal, that large mouth, well laid out, well spread out, ruddy lined eyes, those beautiful chubby cheeks, and those large, divine, strong chest, and that beautiful, large and wide open right hand which says Abhayam, and on that left hand which extends up to the knee, and those pillar-like thighs on which Andal can rest, sleep peacefully on those thighs. There is no way that one can get satisfied with the beauty of Lord Ranganathan. And of course, there are 2 large pillars in front of Alagiya Madhavakannan Sannidhi. Why? Because Kulasekara Alvar says, you have to hold that pillar when you look at Lord Ranganathan, because you cannot stand in balance. You will be simply washed away by the beauty and you cannot control yourself. So you would buckle on your knees looking at his beauty. So Even Tondaradipadi Alvar mentions that உடலெனக்கு உருகுமாலோ என் செய்கேன் உலகத்தீரே. குடதிசை முடியை வைத்து குணதிசை பாதம் நீட்டி வடதிசை பின்பு காட்டி தென் திசை லங்கை நோக்கி கடல் நிற கடவுள் எந்தை அரவணை துயிலுமா கண்டு உடலெனக்கு உருகுமாலோ என் செய்கேன் உலகத்தீரே. My body is simply melting, not just mind. My body is melting. Mind always melts. But looking at him, what a beauty is he. And it's so proportionate. And he is so majestic. And in spite of that, he is Sarva Shulaban. Our Tripanalvar, he says, Kondal Vandanai Kovalanai Vennai Unda Vayan Yen Ullam Kavardane. Under Kon, Nityasuri's chief. Ani Arangan, this Lord Ranganathan. Yen Amudan, my nectar. Avanai Kanda Kangal. These eyes which have seen my Amudan would not see anything else, and he united with the Lord immediately. That was the love, bhakti Alvars had. பொய்வண்ணம் மனத்தகற்றி புலனைந்தும் செலவைத்து மெய்வண்ணம் நினைந்தவர்க்கு மெய் நின்ற வித்தகனை மைவண்ணம் கருமுகில் போல் திகழ்வண்ண மரகதத்தின் அவ்வண்ண வண்ணனை யான் கண்டது தென் அரங்கத்தே. திருமங்கை ஆழ்வார். He mentions in Periya Tirumazhi, Maragada Kal, he is like a blue, huge emerald stone. And he is, that Emperuman I have seen in this Srirangam. And he shows himself so naturally, so beautifully. And Swami mentions here that Antarjyoti Kimabhiyaminam Anjanam Yogadrishte Chintaratnam Sulabhamigana Siddhi Mokshanurupam Dhinanatam Yasanamaram Taivatanam Divyam Chakshushrudi Parishadam Drishyate Rangamadhye. I see Drishyate in the middle of the stage on Srirangam. Whom I see? The rishis contemplate, they perform tapas, they perform great penance, and they behold the most beautiful Perumal in the cavity of their hearts with so much effort. But for us, with the naked eye, he is making himself so easily accessible, so easily seen with our naked eye. Sulaban. And he is Chinta Ratnam. For even to think of, he is a most precious gemstone. Antarjyoti. And he says Kimapi. He starts with a mesmerized awe, mesmerized overwhelming Ascharyam. Divyam Chakshu Drishyate Rangamadhye. What to say? That which can be envisioned only by yogis in mind, I am seeing here in the center of Srirangam. What a great vision he has. Of course, our Ramanuja lost himself in the most beautiful vision of Srirangam, and he came out and burst out with Gadyatrayam right then. He says, Apara Karunambude Analochita Vishesha Sheshaloka Sharanya Pranatartigara Ashrita Vatsalyeka Jalate Anavarta Vita Nikila Bhuta Jata Yatatmya Asesha Charachara Bhuta Nikila Niyamana Nirata Asesha Chitachit Vastu Seshi Bhuta Nikila Jagadadara Agila Jagat Swamin Asmat Swamin Satyakama Satyashankalpa Sagaletara Vilakshana Artikalpaka Apatsaka Srimanne Narayana Sri Ranganatha Mamanatha Namostute. He mentions in Sharanagati Gadyam as well as Sri Ranga Gadyam, and he bursts out also in Sri Vaikunta Gadyam. Mama Kula Natham, Mama Kula Daivatam, Mama Mataram, Mama Pitaram. When is he going to bless me with his vision? When is he going to instruct me with his kaikari, with his instructing me to asking me to perform kaikaryam, with his most sweetest tongue, with the most beautiful words, Gambiraya, Madhuraya, Vacha. When is he going to say? And because he was blessed with the Acharyan, Yamunacharya, Mudalvan Ivan, Yamunacharya saw our Ramanuja when Ramanuja was with Yadava Prakashar, and Nambi told Alavandar, that lean, lanky, handsome young boy standing next to Yadava Prakasha, he is our Ilayalvan, he is our Ramanuja. So immediately Alavandar blessed Mangala Sasanam for Ramanuja, and he said, Mudalvan Ivan. He is the chief. He is going to take care of our Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. And then later he prayed to Lord Varadaraja and then to Sri Ranganathan that you should intervene to bring him into our fold. So Lord Ranganatha told our Periya Nambi after Yamunacharya attained Acharyan Trivadi. He told Periya Perumal told our Periya Nambi that you should rush to Kanchipuram and bring Ramanuja into our fold. Bring him to Srirangam so that he would re-establish the supremacy of Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. So he therefore sent word through his priest to Periya Nambi to be present in his service immediately. Periya Nambi was ordained, you shall preach all the Vedanta Shastrams and become Acharya to Ramanuja that were initiated by Alavandar to you, and prepare Ramanuja as an instrument to completely protect our Siddhantam, to spread our Siddhantam, to propagate our Sampradaya. Periya Nambi, out of mercy, Daya, immediately rushed to Kanchipuram. If you notice, when Ramanuja started, after Tirukachinambi told Ramanuja the 7 words of Perarulalan, that you have to, the 7th response was that you take Periya Nambi as your Acharya, Mahapurnar. Immediately Ramanuja started rushing to meet Periya Nambi. And here Periya Nambi started from Srirangam. And where did they meet? In Madhurantakam. Madhurantakam is closer towards Kanchipuram, away from Srirangam, which means who started the walk before, earlier? Acharyan, Periya Nambi. So Periya Nambi had commenced his journey even before the Sishya knew about it and he started. So we all need to bear this in mind that if we decide to go to Acharyan now, the Acharya had already decided on us even much before we start. It's all Bhagavat Anugraham. It is all only God's will that we are who we are, and our every thought towards him is because of our Sadacharyan's compassion, Sadacharya Kataksham, and it is because of Ranganathan Aduvum Amanadayinarule. It is because of his Daya, his mercy. So I think I tried to touch upon all 3. Periyazhwar through Andal Suyamvaram, Periya Perumal, his Anubhavam, and Periya Nambi. Adiye Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha. Dhanyosmi Adiye.